Hi, my name is Chris Brennan, and the purpose of this video is to do a brief tutorial about how to install the custom SolarFire design files that I created for students of Hellenistic Astrology. So I've got SolarFire version 9 running here, and if you open up the chart, you can see this is my custom chart design using the Hellenistic layout that I designed for SolarFire. So it has a bunch of cool things in it. It's got a whole sign house chart with glyphs that are relatively clear and straightforward. It's got a table of quote-unquote essential dignities in the top right using the Egyptian bounds or the Egyptian terms. It's got a table of aspects, or of what the nearest aspects are in the chart. It has a very useful table for the lots, or the 7 Hermetic lots or parts, sometimes known as Arabic parts, but this specific set is the set of 7 planetary lots for each of the traditional planets that comes from Paulus Alexandrinus. So this includes the lot of fortune and the lot of spirit, but it also includes the lot of necessity, eros, courage, victory, and nemesis, plus the lot of exaltation, which is a lot that Vedius Valens uses in some of his example charts in Book 2 of the Anthology. It's also got a table for the nearest lunar phases, and finally a very useful table of retrogrades and stations, basically showing if the planet's moving fast or slower than its average daily motion, what degree it's stationed in most recently, how far ago or how long ago was the last station, when is the next station retrograde or direct, and finally how many days away that is. So those are some of the things that this page file does. So let's take a look at how to install it. So first things first, open up your browser, go to my website HellenisticAstrology.com, and the link to download the page files is HellenisticAstrology.com/hellenistic-page-files.zip. So I'll put a link to that in the description below this video on YouTube. So type that in, hit enter, it will download the page files. Then what you're going to do is you're going to open up the page files, and you're going to extract the files because it's a zip file, so it's compressed. So you're going to open up the files, and it's going to contain, once you extract it, this folder that has, about a dozen or just under a dozen different files. And inside the zip file, one of the files is an instructions file that actually tells you where to put every single one of the files that's contained in this folder. So the long and short of it is basically what you want to do is you want to open up and go to if you're in Windows, which I'm assuming you are for the purpose of this, go to your Documents or My Documents folder, then open up your SolarFire user files folder. So that's where SolarFire stores most of the custom files and page designs and other things like that, is in the SolarFire user files folder, which is in the Documents folder. So, and usually, typically that's what you want to back up if you're ever trying to back up your SolarFire files or database or what have you, because that's where all of your charts are. All right, so what you want to do is you want to take each of these files, and you're going to have to drag them, basically copy and paste them into the specific folders that they need to be pasted into. So the instructions folder tells you pretty much each one that you need to do. So for example, it says the Hellenistic-Aspected-Points file goes in the folder titled Points and Colors. So Hellenistic-Aspected-Points, we're going to hit copy and then go over here to Points and Colors in the SolarFire user files and hit paste. So let's see, paste. And if the file already exists, which it won't for you, but even if it did, you would hit replace the file in the destination. So basically, you just need to do that for every single one of these files that I've given you and make sure they all end up in the right folder. So if you do that properly, or once you do that, you're going to want to go to SolarFire. Once you get all of those different files installed, you're going to go to SolarFire. You're going to open up a chart. So let's say you've calculated a chart already, or you've put in the data for a chart. And then you go over here to Pages. So click Pages, and then typically there's a bit of an issue with the file, but typically it'll show up in the Added Recently folder. If it doesn't, then search around through some of the other ones and see if you can find it under General or Basic or one of those other ones. But generally speaking, it should show up under the Added Recently folder, and you're going to look for the one that should be titled Hellenistic Page Design. So double click that, and then as long as you placed all of those files in the different folders properly, the page design should more or less show up like this. Now you might need to do a few things still, or you might need to do a few additional settings, like you may need to change your displayed points for the chart that you're looking at. So right click and then go to Displayed Points, and then one of the files that I provided for you is titled HellenisticDisplayedPoints. So you want to make sure that's selected, because that's the point file that will only show the 7 traditional or 7 visible planets, plus the north and south node and the Lot of Fortune. Let's see, other things that you might have to do. You might have to change the aspect set. So for that, you could click, I think the file I called it is the HellenisticAspectSet. Let's see. Yeah, HellenisticAspectSet right there. So select that, and that will dictate a certain aspects and certain orbs that will be used. Yeah, so there's a few different things like that. You can also click the color scheme, and for that, if you go to the sign text colors, there should be one that's titled, I think what I have it titled is Elements. So Elements-custom.csg. Right now on my computer I have it titled something else, but you just select the one that I gave you, and then it'll correctly put the right sort of colors for each of the elements. So all of the water signs will be blue, the fire signs will be red, and the earth signs will be green, and so on and so forth. But other than that, I think that's about it. So if you install all of those files correctly in your SolarFire user files folder, then this is pretty much what you'll end up with, and you can use this page file for whatever you want. So it looks pretty good on my screen here, although if there's anything, if you ever want to change it or modify it, all you do is go to Pages, select the file, and then hit Edit, and that will pull up the page designer in SolarFire so that you can click on some of the different points and modify them. So for example, you could change what points are listed. You could add the outer planets if you wanted to the retrograde points file. You could alter which Arabic parts are being listed, or which lots are being listed, or a number of other things. And then just hit Save, and that'll save it. And then you just refresh it back here, hit Redraw, and then it'll refresh the page and show whatever your changes are in that file. But anyways, I think that's about it. So this will give you, you of course need to make sure that if you want it to display whole sign houses, that you go back to SolarFire, and when you're calculating the chart, so hit Edit, that you select whole sign houses if indeed that's the house system that you're trying to use, which this page file is kind of designed for. So if you do all of those things and successfully copy the files over to the right folders, then it should look more or less like this. You might have to do some additional tweaking, but for the most part, you should have the page design that I have here on my screen. So I think that's about it. So hopefully that works for you. If you have any questions, then let me know in the comment section below. And if you, yeah, and basically that's it. So I hope the page file works for you, and I'll see you next time.